It was a beautiful day in late December of 1968. Everyone was in a great mood. They had a Santa that was going to come and, give candy canes out during halftime. He was the best Santa that you'd ever seen in your life. He looked like he was straight taken off of the set of Miracle on 34th Street. Everyone was happy. He came in ringing his bell, and the mean, evil Philadelphia Eagles fans all just started cursing and booing and throwing snowballs at him for literally no reason. They just had to gear their anger towards something, their vitriol, and unfortunately it was Santa Claus. The quarterback took a 7-step drop and threw a snowball as hard as he could and hit Santa right in the face, broke his glasses.
Knocked him out.
It was a mess. Yeah. So, and then when he got knocked out, the entire stadium cheered. They erupted in Jubilee. So
you're joking, but that's actually what happened. That's what I heard.
Yeah, it's true.
Sports and culture all in one. Catch the fire, feel the fun. Andrew Sistat, glad unite. Philly NY in the spotlight.
We're going to do the blind reveal rankings. So I'm going to give you 5 things, and you don't know what the next thing is going to be. And you have to rank them 1 through 5. Okay?
Okay.
You understand the rules? All right.
I understand the rules.
The list is going to be American tragedies. So, awful atrocities that have happened throughout the history of America. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. First thing up is the 1906 San Francisco earthquake.
I can't say I know that much about this. So I'm going to put it at 5 just because it was 1906. And I don't know much about it.
Okay. Yeah, look it up. Very devastating. Killed a lot of people. Did insurmountable damage to San Francisco. All right, you ready for the next one?
I'm ready.
Okay, Great Depression.
The Great Depression I'm going to put at number 2.
Wow. That's pretty bold.
Oh, that's not a good sign.
Okay. Next on the list is Hurricane Katrina.
Number 4.
Okay. The assassination of President Abraham Lincoln.
I don't know. That's a tough one. I'm going to say 3. It can't be 1. It can't be 1.
It can't be 1.
So it has to be 3. And I already used 2, 4, and 5, right? So it can't.
Yes.
So it has to be 3.
So it has to be 3.
It has to be 3.
Okay, 3.
Okay.
All right. Last thing on the list is 14 Eagles fans throwing snowballs at Santa Claus in December 1968.
I should have known that was coming. Because clearly that should be 1, so I did this right.
You nailed it, dude. You nailed it. It's almost as if you knew what was coming next.
That's the worst thing that's ever happened. By the way, I did just look up.
Happened.
I didn't know about the 1906 San Francisco earthquake. It struck at 5:12 a.m. on April 18th.
That's
a magnitude estimated at 7.8. It caused widespread destruction, followed by massive fires that burned for days, destroying 80% of the city. Wow. Over 3,000 people died and hundreds of thousands were left homeless. It remains one of the deadliest natural disasters in the U.S. history and led to significant changes in earthquake science and building regulations. So maybe it was a good thing.
That's a
very insensitive take.
Very insensitive, but I appreciate the silver lining. I mean, the one thing we can all agree is that it's nowhere near close to the magnitude of Santa Claus getting snowballs thrown at him.
Both things we learned as a society. We learned from the Eagles fans being horrible. As sports fans, we know what not to be. We compare ourselves to Philadelphia fans. Right. We don't want to be them.
Mm-hmm.
And we need terrible natural disasters to happen to realize when we have to change things, when we have to take better care of the earth and be better prepared. Just like COVID, hopefully we will be better prepared. 100 years from now.
Yeah, I think the one thing we can all take pride in as Americans is, we see an issue, whether it's proactive or reactive, and we adjust.
It's
And
this is yeah,
nobody wants to
okay.
be a Philadelphia fan. So,
No, no, for sure.
yes.
Hey everyone, welcome to a special episode. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. If I'm leaving out a holiday, Kwanzaa. If I'm leaving anything else out, Happy Holidays. We're going to do a special episode in celebration of the holiday season. We are going to talk about and tell a story that all sports fans probably heard of. You probably even have referred to it in a way to make fun or mock Philadelphia. It's a story from 1968, a story that lives in infamy, one that is often used and talked about as a symbol for how terrible you, Sistad, and your Philadelphia Eagles, Philadelphia sports fans in general are.
Mm.
It is the story of, that we just mentioned, Philadelphia Eagles fans throwing snowballs and booing Santa Claus during halftime of a Christmas pageant. For those of you that are familiar with the story, how much detail do you really know? How much context do you know? You don't have to look any further. You're gonna get it all here. As Sistad desperately tries to defend his fellow Philadelphia sports fans. So Sistad, let's hear it. Take it away. Tell us the context. Tell us the story. Tell us everything.
Sure. Yes. So the context is that there's actually not that much. What happened was it was a beautiful day in late December of 1968. Everyone was in a great mood. They had a Santa that was going to come and, give candy canes out during halftime. He was the best Santa that you'd ever seen in your life. He looked like he was straight taken off of the set of Miracle on 34th Street. Everyone was happy. He came in ringing his bell, and the mean, evil Philadelphia Eagles fans all just started cursing and booing and throwing snowballs at him for literally no reason. They just
That's
had to gear their anger towards something, their vitriol, and unfortunately,
yeah.
it was Santa Claus. Yeah,
That's the
there's
story
no
I've heard.
context. Yeah,
That's
yes,
what I heard.
Santa Claus just walked onto the field, and everyone, all 50,000 people, kids, women, even the players on the teams, all
Oh,
just started.
the
They
players got
just
the
started
quarterback. I
booing
heard,
him.
right?
Yes,
The coach.
the quarterback took a 7-step drop and threw a snowball as hard as he could and hit Santa right in the face, broke his
Knocked
glasses.
him
It,
out.
it was a mess. Yeah. So, and then when he got knocked out, the entire stadium cheered. They erupted in jubilee. So
You're joking, but that's
there
actually what
you have
happened.
it. Yeah,
That's what I heard.
it's true. No,
So
so
so it's not true, you're saying. That's not what happened.
it's obviously not what happened, although that's what
I
people would like you to think. That is the urban legend, the lore that's gotten passed down from generation to generation. It's a fun thing to poke fun at fans for. It irks me for a number of reasons, but we can get into that after. Maybe we'll get into the story, and then we'll kind of recap and let the world know how we feel about it. So rewind again. It's late December. It's 1968. The Philadelphia Eagles are in the midst of having one of the worst seasons in NFL history. They were very bad in the late 60s, and before that, they were actually really good. 1960, they won their last championship. It was the NFL championship against the Green Bay Packers. Vince Lombardi's only playoff loss was to those 1960 Philadelphia Eagles in that same stadium, Franklin Field.
Congrats.
Thank you. So there was some really good. After that core group had kind of broken up, got old, retired. They were awful for a really long time, from like the late '60s, all the 1970s. They were bad, and not that has anything to do with this, but basically just the tone, the mood of the fan base was very negative because they were pissed off, right?
Okay, so
Um,
they were saying that they were terrible. Okay.
They were terrible. Now, to add insult to injury, the one silver lining for the Eagles that year is that they were going to be the number one pick, and that happened to be the year that O.J. Simpson was coming out of college, and he was going to enter the NFL draft, which was exciting. This was before he did that. He
Years
was
before.
one of the greatest running back prospects, ended up being one of the greatest running backs in NFL history. So everyone was very excited about drafting OJ.
Yeah.
Right, about the tank. Especially in a time where, obviously we know it's different now, but running backs kind of ran the show back then, right? It was a much bigger part of people's offenses. So yeah, OJ's coming out. Unfortunately, so there was 14 NFL games during the season back then. The Eagles started off 0-11, and it wasn't like a fluky 0-11. Like, their point differential was awful. They
kept track of that.
Yes.
Well,
not that you could keep track of it, but you can kind of know if your team is getting the shit kicked out of it. Yes, now we can go back and calculate it. But yeah, they were getting the shit kicked out of them every game. And then the 12th game of the year, they ended up winning. And the 13th game of the year, they also ended up winning. So now they're sitting at 2-11. They ended up losing that game, and they didn't get the number 1 pick.
So are you suggesting that because Eagles fans were upset, that excuses throwing snowballs at someone that's... And when we say Santa Claus, it's obviously a human being dressed in a costume, right? So yeah, I'm sorry to break it to you, man, and everyone that's listening, Santa's not real. It was a guy dressed in a costume. So you're being bad, and an Eagles fan, right? Because, that's what I wanted to ask you. So I saw that they had someone... They had a plan.
Yeah, so we're not done. We're not done here, man. There is plenty more story to go.
I thought you were ready for me to chime in.
No. So the story continues. That's okay.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, they're missing out on OJ, and the night before, I forgot to say, there was a big blizzard in Philadelphia. So they had plans. They had a Santa Claus coming in from New Jersey, and he was going to come onto the field at halftime. He was going to say ho ho ho. He was going to give out candy canes. And ring the bell, walk around, just kind of.
Can you say that again?
Do the
Give
Santa
me another
Claus
ho ho
thing.
ho.
Ho ho ho.
All right, good. All right.
Thank you.
Continue.
So that was the plan. There ended up being a foot of snow on the ground from the night before. So obviously the roads are awful. Nobody's going to want to drive from New Jersey to Philadelphia at that point. I'm not even sure that like he notified them. I think that they were all just kind of like looking around for the guy, and when they realized he didn't show up, they had to just go to plan B. And there wasn't really a plan B. So they found a young Italian man named Frank Olivo, who just so happened to be wearing a Santa Claus outfit to the game that day.
And it wasn't a good one, apparently.
It was not a good one. This guy is a South Philly native. He actually lived and grew up not far from where they play today, not far from Lincoln Financial Field. This game was at Franklin Field, which is on the other side of the city, but regardless. But apparently he and his family had season tickets, and he always wore a Santa suit to the last home game of the season. It was just kind of his thing, his tradition. So they plucked this guy out of the crowd. Out of nowhere. It's unexpected. And this
How old is this guy?
I think he was 19 or 20 at the time. So
okay.
He's probably half in the bag, But anyway, they plucked this guy. Yeah, he's probably drunk off his ass, dude.
I didn't know that was a... I mean, I got the context, but I didn't know that was a...
Yeah.
That was a saying.
Trying to stay warm. So they plucked this guy out of the crowd, and he's wearing an awful Santa suit. And he's an awful Santa. Like, you can tell this guy is not a trained Santa. Not that it's his fault, but they just... No! He's not good at being Santa, right?
No, he doesn't know. He doesn't even have a reindeer.
He doesn't know. He actually had I believe I read something that he had like a pillow underneath his suit or something like that. Like, that's how bad and cheap it looked. So
that's funny.
Anyway, everybody's pissed off. They see this shitty looking Santa come out onto the field who's unprepared, not doing a very good job. So they started booing him because he was doing such a poor job. This guy's kind of just like, they literally just took me down here. I'm just kind of trying to help out, right? As he walked down the field, he basically started in one end zone, walked down to the other end zone, and came back. As he's getting halfway down the field, the boos are getting a little bit louder. They're realizing that he's not a very good Santa. He's not really walking around doing like a good Santa bit. He's just kind of walking, and they didn't like it. They were in a bad mood, and they thought he was horrible. So as he gets to the end, he's now growing a little bit. He's feeling some type of way. He's feeling attacked for getting booed for no reason. And I think at this point, like, one or two people had thrown a snowball. It wasn't like it wasn't all 50,000 people throwing snowballs. And he got to the end, someone threw a snowball at him, and he pointed up to the guy and said, "You're not getting anything for Christmas," he said to this guy.
So he was like, he handled it well. He was like joking around with everyone, kind of
I don't
thing.
know if I don't know if he was joking. I think he was probably mad because
Oh,
these people are
I take that as he must have been joking. Does he think he's actually Santa giving people gifts?
Well, I think he was just trying to be a dick.
Okay, maybe.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think once the crowd saw him like point and clap back at somebody who was throwing, I think that's
got him
what
riled
set
up.
them over the edge. Yeah, I think that's what set them over the edge. It was probably, from stuff that you read today and stuff that like I did a little bit of digging on this. It was not that many people. There was probably a couple dozen snowballs that were thrown at the guy. He walked back. He went back to his seat. Eagles lose, and that was it. Nobody thought much of it at the time. In fact, if you look at I was looking for the newspaper the day after, that Monday, and there's no mention of it like anywhere in any of the newspapers. So it wasn't like this gigantic event of Santa Claus happily walking on, and everybody just decided to be mean and throw snowballs and boo Santa Claus just for the sake of booing Santa Claus. That's not what happened. And it wasn't even a big deal. Like, nobody cared. Nobody batted an eye. Again, it wasn't in the papers at all the next day. It's just kind of one of these urban legends. It's just some crazy lore that as the year goes on, it gets more exaggerated, and people add to the story, and so on and so forth. So
yeah, everybody just talks about it. Oh, the Eagles fans, they're terrible in Philadelphia. They booed Santa Claus. They threw snowballs at Santa Claus. I've heard that since I was like 6 years old, but I don't ever like what actually happened.
Yeah, and you can't watch an Eagles game in December without the broadcast bringing it up. It's just what happens.
The broadcast at the time, by the way, Howard Cosell was on the broadcast, and he has mentioned it. He apparently would bring it up all the time on broadcasts. Apparently, like, I chat GPT this story, and apparently Philadelphia Eagles fans were very upset with Howard Cosell for always bringing it up, and they blame him for perpetuating this story. Also, you know what chat GPT told me about this story? They asked Frank Olivo, or Olivio?
Olivo. I think it's Olivo.
Okay. If he thought it was malicious, and he said that he saw it as part of the fans venting and even laughed at it afterwards. And apparently he said he was cheered by fans in the section after he sat down. But no,
Could see that.
Philadelphia fans suck. They're
That's
horrible.
right.
You guys are the worst. I mean, New York fans would never do that. They don't
ever
never.
do that.
They would never get upset at anyone. Boston, you go to a game in Boston. If you're a Philadelphia fan, New York fan, they put their hand out they say hi, they give you hugs.
You flowers when you go. Yeah, it's great. I mean, yeah.
Someone gave me $100 once at Fenway Park.
Just because, yeah. I mean, every other city, none of them have these evil sports fans. I mean, could you imagine? Man, one time I was watching a baseball game at Citizens Bank Park, and the outfielder was going to catch a ball, and it kind of happened it was near the wall. He lifted up, he went to go catch the ball, and one of these Philadelphia fans like grabbed him by the glove.
I wonder what you're doing right now.
He started trying to rip the ball out of his glove. It was like really, really ridiculous.
Okay.
Only in Philadelphia. I mean, these people are just mean, nasty. Nothing like that happens anywhere else.
Okay. So This is a fabrication of years of sports fans hating on Philadelphia. So do you feel like we need to get the truth out, or are you okay just accepting it? Let people hate you. Let people hate Philadelphia.
I think people, well, here's the thing. I think you can hate Philadelphia. I think that's totally fine. If you want to hate on Philadelphia, there are so many more examples of fans like actually doing really shitty things
I know.
that like the Santa Claus, it's just so lazy. It's so lazy and it's like not even true. And they make it seem like it's again like this great American tragedy that happened. It's like, okay, some guy got a snowball thrown at him. Like, who cares? It was cold, there was snow on the ground, they threw snowballs. A couple weeks ago, somebody from the Bills tried to the Bills crowd tried to throw a snowball at the ball as it was going through the uprights, but
That's
you know,
hilarious. I didn't see that.
that
That's
was
pretty
hilarious.
funny.
Yeah. Well, right. You know why it was funny? Because it happened in Buffalo. If it happened in Philadelphia, it would have been, front page news. But yeah, there's
Front
so much.
page.
I just think it's, you know what I'm talking about. I think it's just so lazy and dumb. Like, just come up with something new. Like, why don't you say, I don't know, like, you hear stories of, like, they used to throw batteries at, like, players that they didn't like, right?
hmm
There's this Michael Irvin got a really bad like season-ending injury in the '90s one time, and the crowd cheered in Philadelphia. Like that's pretty shitty. Throwing batteries at players is pretty shitty. Snowballs at Santa Claus, not a big deal, and just way overblown. So yeah, I don't really care if you hate Philadelphia. I love it. I think that there's so many like funny stories of fans that I hear, and I just think it's such a unique place for sports fans that I love it. I think it's great. I think the passion is amazing. I think that it's probably not for everybody. I think that there's some legitimacy to what people say, but it's certainly overblown, and it certainly overlooks the just the passion and the love that the real fans have for their teams.
Well, you defended Philly well. Good job.
Thank
Everyone,
you.
thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you learned something about the story. Maybe you hate Philadelphia less. Maybe you hate them more. Anyway, happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Thanks for tuning in. And please subscribe. See you next time.
Philly pride insists that's all. And you rapping and wild bulls. Together they talk sports and dreams. Right behind the scenes. It seems. Philly versus NY. Hear the call. Who's the greatest? Who will fall with this rivalry? Loud and clear. Join the chat. It's time to hear. Sports and culture all in one. Catch the fire, feel the fun.